Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our Book Fest Fall 2022. I'm your host, Deborah Zara Kobylt, and please join Jen Nash. She wrote this terrific book that honestly everybody needs to pick up, The Big Power of Tiny Connections. Can't wait for everybody, particularly all of our writers, to hear about this one. Thanks, Jen, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Deborah. It's awesome to be here.
Absolutely. First of all, tell us, what is The Big Power of Tiny Connections? Why did you write this book?
I wrote this book because I really wanted to help pretty much anyone get more out of life. I mean, to say that coming out of the pandemic, we were all like literally just dying for greater connection is probably an understatement. But I know
Right.
I personally was just so hungry for more. And as I started to look at my life, I realized that every aspect of my life, when connection was removed, was deeply impacted. And so I wrote
Mm.
this book to sort of reverse engineer connections for anyone that maybe is a little insecure, maybe is more of an introvert, or may just be like missing out on some of the secrets of how to like grow their spectrum.
Right. And you're somebody who's been working in marketing and all of that for much of your life, right? Would you tell our audience briefly about that?
Absolutely. So while I went to art school, I ended up working as a reporter and then as a writer, as a creative director, as a content strategist. So words were definitely my craft. And I've
Hmm.
spent most of the past 2 decades, presenting, sharing ideas, and everything I did really relies on words. And so I'm no stranger to putting together obviously, paragraphs and stuff, but writing a book was definitely something different. And this is my first foray into that world.
Right. And so many of people in our audience, I mean, they're writers, right? So they may know how to get their thoughts out on the page, but very often making those connections with how to get your book published, who to talk to, what do you do, is pretty tough. So I'm going to have you maybe speak to those folks, the writers out there who are saying, gosh, how do I get the mentor? How do I walk into a room and meet some of the people who could be helpful to me? How do I get in front of some of the influential people in this business? Could you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to. And I love all the points you're making. And I really try and hit all of those in the
Yeah.
book in greater detail. So, like top level, I think as a writer, congratulations, you've come up with an idea that you want to share with the world. So celebrate that. And
Mm.
B, it's really important to look at all the ways you're connecting. For instance, if you are looking at going the traditional route, you're going to want to get a literary agent, and then that agent will take you to a publisher. Most literary agents really only want to talk to people who have between 5 and 25,000 or more followers on social media. So if building your social media following has been something you've been doing, amazing. And that actually is a great way to make connections online and to chat with people. And you can ask, people in clubs, etc., to follow you, to grow your followings. That just having those numbers follow you will give you credibility. If you're trying to meet people in person, I strongly recommend you do the research, find out where those little agents are going, what kind of conferences they are attending, and go
Mm.
out and mingle. As far as how you actually walk up to people, I would encourage you to like research before you go so that you know who you might potentially be looking for. LinkedIn is such a great resource. So you can see who attends certain things. You might even be able to reach out to the conference organizer and ask them for a list of, say, vendors who might have booths. You're going to find literary agents there, possibly. Alternatively, there is just a slew of hybrid publishers. And that's the way most people are going these days. Hybrid publishing is working with a company that's going to help you go from your words to an edited manuscript to a copywritten, proofread manuscript, designing your cover, getting your actual book designed, to getting that uploaded on whichever backend you're choosing, which, it could be Ingram, Sparks, it could be Amazon, which is KDP. However you're choosing to vend your book, they'll walk you through the whole process. And these hybrid
Mm.
publishers, they take a flat fee. So shop around, do your due diligence, see which one has a good ethos that resonates with you. because honestly, you're going to be looking at paying between $8,000 and $30,000, and that's
Ooh,
having, yeah, it's not
that's
cheap.
steep. No.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And if you publish the book yourself, I mean,
Mm.
you can do that. I personally love Readsy.com. I think it's a wonderful online resource where you can find developmental editors, you can find copy editors, proofreaders, book jacket designers, book designers. I mean, and at the end of the day, if you are working with professionals, you will still be spending somewhere between 5 and 10 grand. There's just no way to get out of it. And depending
Mm.
if you're Canadian or American, just buying your ISPN number for the back of the book, Americans have to pay, I believe it's $75 each, and Canadians get it free just for being Canadian. So, yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully that answers the question. I tried to go broad.
Actually, that was fantastic. I mean, people are going to have to rewind this and say, "Wait a minute, what?" Because there's a lot of great info there. But you talked about to go to a conference, right? And very often, those can be intimidating, right? You walk into a room, the person who's speaking is on the stage. How do you make that connection? Is there something that you could do to make one of those tiny connections, if you will, to that person so that he or she will listen to what you have to say?
Absolutely. Really listen attentively to what they're sharing. People often drop hints. So for instance, they might
Ah,
be talking about their passion for their dog or their cat as they tell you a story. So lean into the fact that they just shared something incredibly personal. They love
mm,
dogs or cats. And so potentially when you go up afterwards and you go to shake their hand, you're of course going to thank them for their time, for getting in front of you, and tell them that you've just discovered this amazing new pet litter that's eco-friendly and really works well. Have they heard of it? Because it might be something they're excited to discover too. And immediately you've cemented some kind of a connection because you served them. You literally gave them information that might be supportive to something that they care about. Alternatively, you could take a look through their Twitter or their LinkedIn posts while they're finishing their speech and just get a sense of what are they sharing, what's important to them, so that you can sort of almost be prepped when you meet them and say, oh, by the way, I saw that article that you wrote on LinkedIn about how publishers are shifting away from memoirs and they're leaning into fan fiction. I would love to talk to you about that. That was just so on point. So now
mm,
they really feel seen and they notice that you're like above and beyond, because everybody else is just, hey, can I have your card? Hey, can I have
right.
hey, can I have your card is forgettable. So I always
Yeah.
encourage people to dress bold, because then when you follow up with an email, you can be like, I was the woman in the green print shirt. Okay, already I'm making it easier for them to recall,
Hmm.
and we talked about your cat and that great article that you posted on LinkedIn. Wow. If he or she doesn't remember me at this point, I'd be shocked. So
That's great.
you're
Yeah.
really moving the ball forward and cementing the opportunity for you to reach out and have them be like receptive.
Same question for how do you stand out if you're reaching out to people by email or through LinkedIn or anything else? How do you do the same thing? How do you stand out from all the other messages out there?
So hard. It really is. I know this from personal experience because I'm constantly sort of shifting how I work. I
Mm,
think with LinkedIn and emails, there's really only one secret, and that's
mm,
follow up.
okay.
Just commit to being the squeaky wheel. Reach out 1 to 2 times a week, gently, not long. The shorter, the better. Really try and be snappy, be direct. If you're trying to get them on the phone, say, I need 15 minutes. This is what I want to talk about. Um, and just keep following up, because at the end of the day, they will sort of feel like they have to get back to you, and you're going for that. Because
Yeah.
remember, these people are incredibly busy and they are deluged with requests. So gentle, respectful, but repeated.
Hmm. Quick nuggets before I let you go, because we have about a minute left or so. Quick nuggets of what's worked for you. Go.
Working with incredibly talented people makes the process much faster, and you're going to pay half the price of doing it wrong and having to go back and do it again.
Mm.
Find someone that's well respected in this particular vertical if you're looking at book publishing, and hire them to be your guru, because their advice, again, will make everything faster, easier, and just so much less stressful. Because I
Mm.
had no idea how stressful it would be, just like even trying to push the button to like upload stuff. Like it turns into something that's much harder. So I think
Mm.
really build a team of professionals that is going to support you, sort of mind, body, and wallet.
Okay, wonderful advice. Gosh, and there's so much more in your book, The Big Power of Tiny Connections with Jen Nash. Wonderful speaking with you. So please, everybody, pick up the book. And thank you for joining us for the Book Fest Fall of 2022. I'm Deborah Zara Kobylt. See you next time.